they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed.
And that's because they didn't have the knowledge of good and evil. And they weren't 13. And right here, this is where the story gets interesting.
Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made.
There's a few things here. And one is that the term translated more subtle is related to the term naked in verse 25. And you can make that connection with a concordance. They both come from the same root word. But there's a play on words going on here. And what he's indicating to us is that the serpent has the knowledge of good and evil, and the serpent's going to act on it in a negative manner. He's going to act on his knowledge in a negative way. That's what this is meaning. So the serpent is being contrasted with the man and the woman, really. When you read the verse, the serpent's contrasted with the beasts of the field. Now, the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. But when you understand this play that's going on here, the serpent's also being contrasted against the man and the woman because they don't have the knowledge of good and evil, but he does. So that's the idea there. And something else here.
Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made.
Some commentators have noticed that the serpent is, does the serpent really qualify to be in such a grand category as the beast of the field? And really, what we have going on here, and to people watching this, you'll have to think on this and read it through a few times. But what you'll find is that this serpent wasn't always a serpent. And in fact, this creature only became a serpent due to this episode before us. And you'll see that that's right if you read this enough and think about it enough. But the narrator uses serpent throughout. From in 3:1, now the serpent was more subtle. And that's just convenience. But we'll get into how you can tell this beast of the field was changed into a serpent because of what he did. And we'll get into that in just a moment. But that's just something for people to think about. And I'm sure it's something people have never heard, but it's true. And once you realize it, it just makes a whole lot of sense. But let's keep going here.
Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman,
Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden?
And the woman said unto the serpent,
We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die.
And the serpent said unto the woman,
Ye shall not surely die, for God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil.
So let's look at this real quick. In verse 4, the serpent said, Ye shall not surely die. Do you think that is a lie? Do you think he's deceiving the woman here? Do you think he's lying?
I would actually say he is. At least that's kind of the traditional idea, is that he's saying, no, you wouldn't I mean, like he's deceiving them. Just yeah, I would say he's just trying to deceive them.
Look at Genesis 2:16 and 17.
And the Lord God commanded the man, saying,
Of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die.
It's true, but this is a commandment to the man. You see that?
Oh, and woman's not made yet.
Right.
Or the woman's not made yet.
She doesn't even exist when God gives that commandment to Adam.
Oh.
So this serpent isn't lying here, but he's beguiling her. He's got bad intentions, but this isn't like just a straight up lie like a lot of people think it is.
He's really just tricking the woman.
Yeah, he's tricking her. It's deceptive, but I guess like I used to read it and it just seemed like a direct, bold lie, like just absolute opposite of what God plainly said, and really it's not so much like that. So
It seems like in verse 5, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but it seems in verse 5, for God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. He's actually not really wrong there, and that could even suggest that Adam and Eve did not have the knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah, they didn't have the knowledge of good and evil, and the serpent is telling them the truth here. And the serpent is kind of letting Eve know. I mean, he's insinuating, he's like, there's more to this, and God hasn't told you the whole story.
Yeah.
He's the way it's put. It's like he's kind of telling her God hasn't been honest with her or something. Like he's only given her part of the truth. There's something.
It seems clear that although the serpent is still trying to beguile Eve, he also seems to just trying to inform them too of hey, you're actually not necessarily being lied to, but there's actually more to what you think there is than just the garden or something, or the blessings of the garden or something like that.
What it seems like to me is that he's trying to beguile the woman without technically sinning so he could get in trouble.
Yeah, I see it. I see it for sure.
He's trying to do it in such a way that he doesn't do any wrong, So when God gets upset, he'd say, What? I didn't do nothing. Didn't do nothing.